Consider supporting Archaeosoup on Patreon for as little as $1 per month. Link available in the video description. Thank you.
Welcome back to the A to Z of Archaeology. Today is the letter O, and that means we're going to be looking at organic materials. Now, more often than not, the soil or the matrix in which archaeological objects and sites are found simply is not conducive to the survival of the delicate tissue and fabrics which make up organic materials. Through various processes, most elements of everyday life tend to disappear in the archaeological record. Our flesh rots away, our clothes disintegrate, and most elements of the objects and parts of us are quite happily eaten by microorganisms like bacteria. Frequently, bones do survive, but even bones are not immune to the processes of decay. The Saxon burial of a king at Sutton Hoo was one of the most famous archaeological excavations of the 20th century. It relinquished the iconic mask, of which a reconstruction can now be seen in the British Museum. However, we don't know for certain to whom it belonged, because the soil at the excavation was so acidic that all that was left of his bones was a stain in the mud. However, in some cases, there is an extra element, an extra variable, which aids in the preservation of these materials that usually disappear so quickly. This can range from a natural disaster to nothing more than simply having an extra mineral or an extra element in the soil that the archaeology is forming in. One of the most famous events of preservation in our history was at Pompeii, where Mount Vesuvius encased so many elements of organic remains in thick ash. In Scotland, strong storms preserved a whole occupation layer of the Neolithic Orkney village of Skara Brae. The salt in the mines of Hallstatt, Austria, preserved many organic remains, including cloth to a remarkable extent. Waterlogged and therefore oxygen-free deposits in York preserved elements such as the socks from Vikings. A combination of salts and oil in a pit in Starunia in Russia preserved to a remarkable extent the remains of a small woolly rhinoceros. In Roman northern England, at the fort of Vindolanda, a bonfire sealed in its lower layers letters on wood. The dry and arid conditions of Egypt are one of the reasons why its mummies are so famously well preserved. Recently we have also looked at other examples, such as the Killakitsock mummies from Greenland, preserved through dry freezing, Otzi the Iceman, preserved in a glacier, and the thousands of bog bodies from all around Europe. So what is the value of this evidence? Well, the values and the reasons why this evidence is worthwhile recovering are many and varied. Genetic studies of organic remains preserved in archaeology have led to greater understandings of migratory patterns and even our own evolution throughout the past 200,000 years. A greater understanding of the development of technology such as the bow in the Mesolithic has only been possible because of very specific conditions where certain organic remains like wood have been preserved. Through the preservation of Otzi the Iceman, we know an awful lot about the clothing of the Copper Age of Central Europe. The sock in Coppergate, York, enabled a detailed understanding of ancient knitting techniques. The study of organic remains have enabled us to understand hairstyles, fashion, even people's fingerprints. And very recently, a human brain was actually uncovered and identified in Yorkshire. The study of organic remains enables us to understand the diets of people in the past by studying seeds in sediments, and even on a grander scale to understand the development of whole landscapes of plants. So, as we've seen, organic materials comprise the icing on the cake, if you will. They're not the vast majority of archaeological evidence by any means, but they are that bit which finishes it off. They are the squidgy bit. They are the bit which does disappear, and therefore actually they are the element around which much and most of the archaeological evidence which we do find is formed. Techniques for recovering organic materials are only going to improve, and therefore many sites are left untouched, left in situ, if you will, so that we can apply better techniques to the recovering and the detection of this evidence. That's been organic materials. Hopefully you found this video useful. Feel free to comment below. If you want, please do subscribe to the channel, and you'll be able to keep up to date with any videos I do in fact post in the future. We also have a Facebook page now, so if you want to pop over to Facebook, search for Archaeosoup Productions and click like, then anything I can't put on here will go on there. That's it. Thank you very much.